everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to day 4 of the holiday card series for 2015. Today I'm using the stocking stamp set from Waffle Flower. This is a really fun stamp set that has all these fun elements that you can put together to create your own stockings. I'm not going to be using all of the decorating elements this time though. I'm going to be doing a little bit of decorating myself as I watercolor these. So I'm stamping everything onto some Strathmore watercolor paper in versafine black onyx ink. This particular ink is waterproof once dry, so it's perfect for doing some watercoloring on top. So I'm adding the loop to the top of each of these stockings. And then I put the 2 presents and the candy cane on one acrylic block and stamped that grouping 3 times. I'm going to start by decorating these with my Molotow masking pen, putting a little bit of masking right on this stocking with big dots. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that. Now I did want to mention that in the past, this masking pen hasn't really played well with my Strathmore watercolor paper. Sometimes it really sticks to the paper and the blue tint doesn't really go away. But I didn't know that I was going to do the masking before I did the stamping. So I decided to take a chance and see if I could get it to work this time. And thankfully, once I removed the masking fluid, you couldn't see much of the blue anymore. I think it just really depends on if you've let everything dry and also how you remove it. So I'll mention that once we get to it. So I'm starting out with some distress inks. I'm smushing those onto a slick surface and then picking them up with my watercolor brush. I'm using a size 4 round brush for this. And the first color I used was Victorian Velvet, and this second color is Evergreen Bough. And the way that I'm painting these stockings is that I bring in a kind of a darker shaded area on the bottom and on the right, and then I pick up some water with my paintbrush and just extend that color out to the rest of the stocking. This third color I'm using is Pumice Stone, and I'm painting that in the same way that I painted the other two, by adding a little bit of a dark area on the bottom and right, and then extending that over. Decided to water down that pumice stone quite a bit and then kind of dab on a little bit of color, hopefully making it look like that white cuff on the top of these stockings was a little bit fuzzy. So after I had that finished, I decided to paint all of the presents and candy canes. I'm going to introduce one more additional color. I'm using Dusty Concord, and I'm really watering it down. I wanted it to be a pale purple. So I did a wash of color on each of those and then used my heat tool to speed up the drying process. I then brought in another layer of each of those colors on the stockings just to add a bit more shading over on that side and bottom of each stocking. So I added more Victorian Velvet, more Evergreen Bough, and then some more Pumice Stone just to make sure that these stockings had quite a bit of dimension on them. I'm using a very soft color palette for this. I love using non-traditional color palettes for Christmas cards. I think it's unexpected and really fun. So I'm adding some more darker shading on all of the presents and then using my heat tool to once again dry all those all off. So I cut each piece apart so I could trim them out, and then I realized I'd forgotten to take off the masking fluid, so I grabbed my Xyron adhesive eraser and just rubbed that on all of those masked areas. Now, when I tried to remove this with my fingertips, I couldn't get the masking to come off. I think it's because there's quite a bit of texture on this watercolor paper, and that masking fluid just really grabs onto that texture and doesn't want to let go. So I did still have a little bit of the blue hanging out after the fact, but it was such a small amount I decided that I didn't need to redo anything. So I trimmed out each of these images very, very carefully. You'll notice on that candy cane that I actually rotated the paper instead of my scissors while I was cutting because it was such a small piece. I then took a black brush tip marker, in this case a Memento Tuxedo black marker, and I just ran it along the edge of each of these images, and that gives each edge a black color and it makes it look like I've cut them out perfectly. So now I've got some watercolor paper. This is some more Strathmore watercolor paper. I've cut it down to 5.5 tall by 5 3/4 wide. So basically a 1/4 of an inch larger in each dimension compared to that of a regular A2 card front. And I did that because I'm going to be taping down the sides, and I didn't want there to be a white border if my coloring went past the edges of the tape. So I'm going to do some ink smushing. So I prepared some evergreen bow color, and I'm picking it up with just some acetate. You could use anything that's a slick surface. You could use an acrylic block as well. I like to use acetate or a transparency sheet because it bends and I can really manipulate the paint and the water to move in different areas. I like it because I can really customize it and have a little bit more control over this otherwise very random technique. I'm prepping some pumice stone. I'm going to put that in the center, overlapping the evergreen bough just a little bit. Now, if I was to do this again, I think I would have dried the area in between because this pumice stone took on a little bit of a green tint because that evergreen bough was still wet. So I think I would have dried it in between. So learning from that, I decided I better dry it before I move on to the Victorian velvet. So I just dried that until I could move on, and then I brought over some Victorian velvet. And I'm purposely using these colors in this order because I'm going to put the opposite colored stockings over those ends. So the green stocking will go over the pink area, and the pink stocking will go over the green area with that pumice one in the middle. So after I had that on there completely, I hit it with my heat tool to make sure everything was dry. And then I took my distress sprayer and I spritzed it just a little bit to get a little bit of a fine mist, and then I sprayed it into the palm of my hand and dripped on some droplets. This is going to reactivate the color that's underneath, and when I pick it up with a paper towel, it's going to leave behind almost like bleached areas. This is just going to give it more of an ethereal look. It goes really well with the soft color palette. So I'm going to hit that with my heat tool one more time just to make sure everything's dry before I remove it from my board. And then I trimmed it down to the exact size of my card front. So 4 1/4 tall by 5 1/2 wide. And then I used some Tombow Extreme adhesive to tape that down onto my card front. So now it's the time to assemble all of my stockings. Just placing those presents and the candy cane inside the little stocking, and I used a bit of Ranger Multimedia Matte to glue those together. So I put just a tiny bit of dot of adhesive on each piece and then placed them together so they were in one big cluster. Then I took a small square of foam adhesive and just placed that right behind the cuff on the stocking. And then I was able to press that down onto the grouping of presents and candy cane, and it makes everything stick all together. So after I had all 3 of these stocking groupings put together, I put foam adhesive on the back and then adhered it down onto the card front. So I love this color palette. I think if you kind of limit yourself to your color palette, basically I have 3 main colors and then an accent with that purple, and it's such a nice soft color palette. I really enjoy this one. So for the greeting area, I'm going to have it go over the top of the stockings, and I thought it would be really pretty in vellum. So I prepped the vellum with my EK Success Powder Tool, and then I stamped the Merry Christmas from that stamp set in Versamark ink. I'm going to apply some Hero Arts white embossing powder, shake that off, and then heat set that with my heat tool until it was all melted and smooth. And then trimmed it down to a narrow strip, and then cut off each end and made it so that it was just extending past the stockings a little bit. And then use my scissors to cut a small ribbon end on each side. And I do that by cutting a vertical line and then cutting from each corner. And that gives me a nice V-shaped edge. So to adhere this vellum onto this card, I know I had to kind of hide the adhesive. So I used my Ranger Multimedia Matte, or multi-matte medium, and just put little dabs of glue right behind the letters. And I like that it was a liquid glue, so I was able to wiggle it around to get it in the right spot and then press it down. I added a little bit of shimmer to some of these gift boxes with my clear Wink of Stella glitter brush pen. And then I decided I would add some sequins. So I'm using these larger kind of iridescent sequins. I don't think they're moonshine. I think they're called something else, but I absolutely love these sequins. I can't get enough of them. I put them on every single card where I use sequins, and I think it's because they sort of take on whatever color is underneath them. So it's really, really nice. I also use some sparkling clear sequins as well. So that is going to finish the card for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this really soft, kind of magical, ethereal color palette. I think it's very Christmas-esque, kind of a more sophisticated look. So I will be back on Monday for day 5 of the holiday card series. I can't believe we're going to be at day 5 already. So thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching day 4 of the holiday card series. On screen right now are the day 4 cards from the 6 previous years of the holiday card series. So lots and lots of holiday card inspiration for you. You can visit my blog at kwernerdesign.com. And if you are not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, you can definitely hit that subscribe button in the top corner. That means that when you log into YouTube and go to your subscription area, whenever I have a new video, you will see it listed there. Thanks for watching today, and I'll catch you guys next time.